And so, it continues. Hello there! Welcome back to the Writer's Life Vlogs, a special place where I talk about my own creative process, what I've been up to, as well as offering writing advice and inspiration along the way. Today we're going to be talking about brainstorming, which is a very timely place for me to be talking about it because I've just been doing that the last couple of days. I got a question from a dear viewer, and I wanted to tackle it in this particular episode. Boop! So, what have I been up to? What have I been doing? Well, aside from being back at my place for maybe the length of like 10 minutes, I've been working on the next project because the other book that I was writing is wrapping up finally, which means that I gotta start preparing for the next thing I'm going to be writing, while the other thing is just cooling off on the side. Basically, while I'm not thinking about it, you know, the whole revision process, you gotta let things sit on the side, and that's gonna be sitting for a long while, because it's a long book, it's like 350 pages, it's gonna be a while. Stay there, Slowpoke. So that's what I've been up to. Writing, finishing a project, brainstorming the next one, real life house hunting, and that's pretty much it. Also spending a lot of time with my friends. It's been really fun. We've been like playing silly drawing games online. It's been delightful. Now, I got a question from a dear viewer asking for my tips on brainstorming and ways to make brainstorming more effective. And of course, it's a very timely question, and that's why the instant I got it, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about this week. Now, if you've been following this channel for a long while, as well as my Tumblr blog, you would know that I have this really silly thing I do, where in my checklist for the stages of planning a novel, I always abbreviate brainstorming as BS. And in a way, that's kind of how I feel about it. The act of brainstorming for me is solidifying my thoughts regarding a character. It's not really creating the character as much as it's just helping me visualize them better. You know how I feel about the outline? For me, the outline is not the Bible, is not the hard rules of the story. It's just merely the point from which the story begins. Again, the story is always right. The outline is pretty much always wrong. So for me, it's just the starting point. That's why I don't take it very seriously. And in a way, it helps me get through it a lot faster and get on with the actual writing, because we know that the outlining phase is already long enough as it is. So, how do I BS a character? Well, let's remember that the purpose again of brainstorming is to help oneself visualize a character or concept. The exact same way that, let's say, a runner or an athlete would visualize themselves before attempting a task, or a painter would visualize what they want to portray before putting paint to canvas. That second metaphor doesn't really follow all the way through, but follow me. The purpose again of brainstorming is to visualize a character, a concept. So, what I like to do when I'm brainstorming a character is that, particularly a character, it also works for concepts or scenes, but when brainstorming a character, because it's the easiest one, and feel free to play along if you want to. Get paper and pencil or open up your favorite writing software of choice. What I want you to do, and what I do, is this. I write on the top of the page, I write down what this character's name is, or could be, or a phrase describing this character as an archetype, you could say. The friend, the girlfriend, a nickname, if I have a nickname for that character, anything, something to ground me into what I'm going to be describing. The main character's apartment, the MC, the protag, the antag, the side character, the best friend, the girlfriend, the robot, the talking animal sidekick, whatever it is. Just enter a name there. You don't have to have a name. Just something to help you ground you. Again, we want to visualize this character. Give them any sort of name, so you can just, instead of say that, just go, yes, it's the robot, it's the old man, it's the girlfriend, it's Francis. A name. Visualize, you don't have to close your eyes, but visualize the character in your mind and start writing a list. This is a list of facts. Things that you think you know are true about this character. What did they look like? They have fair skin. They have dirty blonde hair. Their nose is a little on the big side. They wear makeup all the time. Their eyes are different colors. They have horns. they have wings. They are short. They have a sword on their back. They wear these kinds of clothes. They have this look on their face. What do they look like? Facts regarding their appearance are the easiest ones because you can just get them on the page, and it helps you create that mental template, you could say, of what this character looks like. And I assume that by the time you're getting to a character, you already have a general idea of what they may be doing in the story, or some sort of role that they serve. So write that down. What do? They are the main character's spouse. They are their best friend from college. They are their professor. They are their coworker. Write down what you know about them. Fact is a little bit loose here because, again, it's just the outline. It may change later in the story, but just things that you know are probably, most certainly, almost assuredly true. Write down all of those things. Now, after you've done that for a little while, again, you don't want to do like pages upon pages of these things. That's why sometimes I like to just use like an index card, 2 sides, one for things that are true and one for things that are the following, but just a small contained space. You don't want to do pages of this. Again, why? Because it's the outline. It's going to change. The instant you start writing, half of these things may not be true anymore. But what matters is not that these are facts. What matters is not that this is like the blueprint for your character. What matters is that you can visualize them, and you're externalizing what they look like, what they do, who they are. It's almost like you're getting ready to write them, because that's what you do when you write. You visualize things and you put them to paper. Now, after, let's say, you've done like 5-10 items of things that you think are true about this character, on the flip side of the index card or on the other side of the paper, I want you to write questions. What do you not know about this character? Do you know where they work? What do they do for a living? Do they have friends? Are they involved romantically with anyone? How do they feel about this other character? What about this thing? What about that? Where do they get their powers? As you're writing these, it's entirely likely, almost like certain, that you immediately get the answer. You immediately think, oh, this is how they feel about the character. What I like to do in those times is to scratch the question and write it on the side of facts. Because now you know. Now you have an idea for what that character does, for how they feel about things. Now, this goes on for a little while. I'm not gonna lie to you, I generally just spend like 15 minutes at most. I like to put on music and to change tracks to help me like think of tracks that work for the character and just kind of help me visualize them better, but I don't spend hours on this. And the reason is for the following. Once I have, and I could literally show you, but like for some characters in the next the book that I'm working on, there's literally like 10 lines including the questions. Because I know that things are going to change, and I also know that ideas, the best ideas, are not going to show up here on the desk. And this is like the truest thing I could tell you, because it literally just happened to me like yesterday, where the protagonist of this story has a very particular ability that could be seen as overpowered in any other setting, and I was worried, you could say, about the implementation of this ability and the source of it. And I knew, because I've been through this before, that sitting here on this desk, just bashing my head against it, brainstorming, BSing, was not going to get me anywhere. I know that. Ideas are not going to find you here. Ideas are going to find you outside of the desk, when you're doing something else. So I finished brainstorming the other characters, I put on music, and I went out for a walk. I did some chores around the house. I did anything but wait here at the desk for ideas to come to me. And the idea came to me later, during my walk, while I was listening to a particular song that I felt was unrelated to the character, to this power they have. And I found, I guess through the magic of just living and just not looking for solutions, that there was a very clear solution right in front of me. I know it may sound a little bit weird to say this, but ideas find us, especially when we need them most. And this is one of those things that I have to like make very clear, is that a lot of young writers feel the need to have all the questions in the outline, to be prepared for everything. And it doesn't really matter, and I'm sorry to put it like that, because and I understand the concern. I completely understand why sometimes we feel the need to go the extra mile, go all the way and get all the answers to the questions that our characters have, or that we have regarding the story, the plot, the location. Because we think that that we're gonna end up at the page at one moment and we're not gonna know what happens next, or we're not gonna know how the character gets out of a really, really nasty situation. And I've found in my experience, every time, I don't know what's gonna happen next. Every time that I think I have run out of ideas, I'm in my walk, I'm washing dishes, I'm folding clothes, I'm doing laundry, and a lyric pops up. I see something. I connect a line between two things that seem completely unrelated. Folding laundry in a particular way. And the answer to my main character's internal struggle. Ideas find us, and they will find you when you're out living and when you're sitting down writing. Ideas will find you. And I know it's hard to just be like, trust in your story, trust in the power of the cards. And no, I know it's rough and it's hard. And as always, in part of this is to acknowledge, like actually understand that writing is the act of discovery, and there is no wrong way to discover your story. And you kind of have to go in there blind sometimes. You can't have all the answers because you can't predict everything that's going to happen. So now, I've strayed a little bit from the point. So, brainstorming made easy. For me, again, the purpose of brainstorming is to help us visualize the characters before we sit down to write. We don't have to know everything about them. And honestly, you really can't know everything about your character. There are gonna be things that are gonna prop up. There are gonna be things, aspects, facts about your character that you would have never thought about, and you only realize once you're revising your story. Oh yeah! What does my character do for a living? Oh yeah! Do they have family? Oh yeah! This and that. And that's why revision is our friend. But ultimately, when it comes down to sitting down to brainstorm, I ask myself what I know, I ask myself what I don't know. If I have answers for the things I don't know, I write them down. And if I don't, I just leave those questions open because they could be either A, things that get answered in the midst of living, I could get the answer in the middle of my walk, I could get it in the middle of writing, or it could be a plot point for a later part of the story. So, even though brainstorming can be incredibly fun and very, very engaging, know when enough is enough, gather your notes, and sit down and write. Okay? Okay, this video has gone on for way too long. I hope you enjoyed it though, and I hope that if anything I gave you another point of view. At the end of the day, because I know I talked a lot about visualizing stuff and questions and facts, but at the end of it all, it's about sitting down to write, because that story's not gonna tell itself. And you can be, and anyone out there who's brave enough to admit, please feel free to say so in the comments down below, because I feel we've all been there. How many of us have been brainstorming stories for years? So get writing, okay? I can assure you that I started finishing more books when I started brainstorming less. Okay? The ideas will find you. Anyhow, for the time being, as we're rolling into the formal outro, please consider the little messages you're seeing on the screen right now for things like supporting my Patreon, getting cool perks, and treating me to a cup of coffee. Because writers need fuel. Now that we're in the formal outro, I want to let you know that up here there's a playlist with writing advice videos, over 200 of them, that's crazy! Up here, a button to subscribe, click on my pixel face. One of these days I'm going to change that icon, and it's no longer going to be a pixel face, and this video is going to look really old. Down here, a link to my Patreon, and over here, a link to my other channel with my best friend Kitty, where we play games, and we're very, very, very silly people. Thank you for tagging along, thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I hope to see you on the next one.